EVO.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Finding Me. I'm so grateful for you all being here. I'm grateful to be here myself. This is truly the first thing I've ever done for myself. As far as art goes, 100% for me. And this is a daily podcast, journal, whatever you want to call it, that is really going to help me be accountable. And it'll help me, I'm hoping it'll help me with my authenticity and help me with who I want to be and what I want to put out in the world. And I also know that serving as I've gotten older and being of service feels good. So I hope that something that you hear on this podcast or something that I say helps you in some way. But I'm really trying to find me, man. It's funny, after years and years of being a performer, I've just started to question, is this really me? I mean, I think I've been authentic, but there's always that entertainer part in the back of my head, you know? And so really hoping this helps me with that, to be authentically me in every way. And I hope this helps you be authentically you as well, man. And, it's funny. I do want to start this podcast every day with about 3 things that I did for myself yesterday. And I'm from now on, I'm not going to count this podcast or going to the gym or being healthy, or these are things that I do every day, so I'm not going to add those in. That seems like cheating. But I do want to be grateful for the 3 things that I stepped out of my life or went to 30,000 feet and was like, oh, this is what I'm doing for myself today. One thing I did, which I've been talking to myself a lot about doing and just never doing, is I want to write like a couple songs a week, silly or whatever. Here's the thing. I have done it. I just haven't put them out. Right. I self-edit and then bury them. I have a bunch of songs that I just haven't put out, that I've written, that I just haven't put out, or that I've half written and I've stopped. I think too far in advance about, is somebody going to like this, or how is this going to be received? And I really am going to stop doing that. I'm going to write things that I like, write things I think are fun. I'm going to put them out. And who gives a fuck? And so I did that today. I put that song out on my Instagram and on my Facebook. If you want to check it out, it's just quick little fun. The other thing I did for myself, yesterday, I really went down a rabbit hole a little bit, questioning this podcast. What are comics going to say when they hear I'm doing something like this? And I've, for too long, worried too much about what my peers will say about what I do. Because the respect of my peers has always been super important to me. And I think anybody who says it's not important is lying a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't care what anyone else thinks. Yes and no, right? You can't care to the point where it changes what you want to do. But it'd be asinine to be like, yeah, it doesn't matter to me if everybody likes me or everybody hates me. Well, of course you'd prefer that everybody like, you know what I mean? So, but I was really questioning it, man. And I was like, oh, is it? And it was the same thing. Is this stupid? What am I, And I, again, put that way in the back of my brain and was like, this is something you've wanted to do for you for a long time. And so I took some more notes on things that I want to talk about. It was such a cool switch for me. In the past, I've talked to you about how I would bring something down to the 1 goal line and then I wouldn't cross the goal line. That's that kind of stuff. It's self-doubt. So you kind of quit on yourself, before anybody can judge you. And that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to learn. I'm here to get better. I'm here to be a good person. And And like I said, to be accountable and be authentically me. And so I did that yesterday also. And maybe my favorite thing I did for myself yesterday is I spoke to my grandkids. You know what? They're so amazing. I like them so much more than I ever liked my kids. Are you kidding me? They're so fun. Maybe because there's no pressure on me to be like, oh my God, I got to make sure that this person is perfect. You know what I mean? Oh, this person's got to be perfect. And with your grandkids, you're like, yeah, that's somebody else's worry. I'm just here to have fun. When I talk to them, they got like VR goggles and they call me JoJo and they're like, JoJo, you're going to get some VR goggles. And I'm competitive, dude. I'll get in there and I'll kick their ass in that game. Oh, nobody, listen, I tried not to be somebody who let his kids win. My dad never let me win. I still have never beat him in golf. I didn't beat him in tennis till he was 70, you know? And so I'll kick those grandkids' ass. And yes, I went with JoJo because if a little kid calls me grandpa, I am going to ignore them aggressively. Yeah, that shit is not flying in my house. But those are the 3 things I did for myself. I would encourage you to write some things down that you do just for you and look at them at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day. These are the things I want to do for me. It really is super cool to be like, yeah, man, I was thinking to myself, oh yeah, that was for me, or I really wanted to do that. So no matter how big or small, I would encourage you to write them down. They really do help me out. And so much gratitude today, honestly, for my friends and family. Let's just start with my friends. For a long time, I worried about the friends I didn't have and not the ones that I do. You know what I mean? Why doesn't this person talk to me anymore? Why, right? I got wrapped up in that for a long time. And I took everything, I had a habit and I'm just getting out of this and I still fall back into it, but I take things personally when they're not personal. Sometimes people just stop talking and it's not because there's anything bad happened. There's different chapters in your life, and some people are in some chapters and not in others. Some people are in every chapter, but I would take it personally about that person. The last person that, well, I'm not going to give a name because he didn't do anything wrong. He's just living his fucking life. But I was really hurt that this person, I've been friends with this person, a pretty well-known person, before they really blew up. And they just kind of ditched the friendship, and I, for a little bit, took it personally, and I was like, yeah, that dude gets to live his life. I know when I see him, we hug it out and how you doing? You know what I mean? So it's not like he doesn't like me, but I took it personally. And sometimes life changes. People are in some chapters and not in others. And what I had to put in perspective is I look back on my life. I was that guy to other people. Sometimes you just outgrow people or you lose touch and then you just don't reach back, whatever. But looking back on it, it was never malicious. Those people that aren't in my life anymore that I not intentionally not talk to, but I just was like, oh yeah, I would look back and wow, I haven't spoken to that person in fucking 4 years. It was not intentional. It's just life, And so it's hard. And you can see it all over the place right now. It's hard. You take your personal experience, it's personal. But when you look at other people, you're like, yeah, that shit just happens. And so I'm it's fun. It's like a great example, man, where you give grace to people that the best example I can give you is like, or the people you like, or the people you think you like, or the people you think there was a guy named Ryan Lochte who was a swimmer, and he got in trouble in the Olympics. Not in trouble, but for like peeing outside of a gas station or some shit. I don't remember exactly what it was. And I remember people in America were toast this fucking entitled to fucking. But I can't think of one dude that I know that hasn't peed outside somewhere, drunk, somewhere he probably shouldn't have. And if that had been your brother or your friend, you'd have been like, yeah, dude, that's just it's gross. Maybe he shouldn't have been peeing on the side of the building, but he's hammered and. But to roast this guy at the core for who this entitled fucking, I was like, whoa, dude, if that was your brother, you'd be like, he's peeing outside. What's the big deal? You know what I mean? So give me a little perspective on this dude and other people who I've grown apart from. And I've learned not to take things so personally. I think it's got to do with like a little emotional intelligence, but I've learned not to take things so personally. And I can't worry about what other people are doing and what they like. And I just can't worry about me. I can't, it's not up to me. I can't change how other people think. I just change how I act and how I think. So a lot of gratitude for the friends that I do have. And I spoke on the phone a couple nights ago for about 45 minutes with a guy named Jeff Wild, who I hadn't talked to in a while. And it was such a fucking great conversation. It was such a cool conversation to reconnect. And I'm really going to make it my point to just try to connect daily with somebody that I haven't spoken to or that I want to reach out to, or just to let them know, hey, man, I think you're a good dude. I do have to tell you a story at the end of this podcast, by the way. Don't go away. This is super funny. A story I've never told before. I told you I was going to the doctor. I got my CT scan back for my heart. Nothing imminent, but not great. There's some buildup in one of the arteries. And I got really fucking mad, because I was like, you can't give me the advice to eat well and exercise. Got it. Been doing it since college. Excuse me. You know what I mean? And I got really, really, really mad. Like, what the fuck? How is this possible? How do I have high cholesterol? What the fuck? Why do I have to go on statins? And I know people have opinions about statins, and I'm going to go on them because I'm not worried about those side effects. The possible side effects. But it's funny when I started thinking about the wellness community in general, which I am deep into. They really make it seem like if there is something wrong in your body, it's because of something you did. And man, a lot of times that's true. But sometimes, and I called my parents. I'm like, yo, I got to go on statins. I've got this blockage. And my dad was like, yeah, both your mom and I. And I was like, what? And they, yeah, for 30 years. And they're the healthiest people I know. Healthiest people I know. My dad is a fucking savage. He was like, it's just in the family. And there are some wellness people who are like, that doesn't matter if it's in the family. Well, what's your advice going to be to me? Eat better? Can't. Exercise more? Could not possibly. And so it's so important.
Son of a bitch.
It's so important, I think, to marry Eastern and Western medicine. As much as the Eastern people talk about how the big pharma preys on people, the supplement companies and these wellness motherfuckers, same thing. Same thing. So, yeah, I just wanted to let you know I did go. I'm not psyched to be on statins. I generally try to keep medication out of my body, besides mushrooms and weed and acid and ketamine. But I want to tell you this story. Because I've been, I got to get back I'm starting to go back on the road next week. And I was just writing down some stories about being on planes that I thought were funny. I got to tell you this one plane trip. It was me and this dude, and the middle seat was open in our row. And there was a row behind us with some very loud, listening to things outside of their headphones. They got warned a million times if they were, hitting the chairs. It was just every bad thing you could think that somebody behind us were doing. So this is happening during the flight. But at one point during the flight, I'm sitting there and I smell the worst fart ever. And I kind of look over and the guy's smiling at me like, and I was like, oh, is this what we're doing? So we had like a silent fart battle from Vegas to New York. Oh, it was long. But we would like, it was so funny because I got them stored up most times anyways. And I would fart and he started holding up like scores, like he was judging at the Olympics. He was like 9.5, it was super funny. But then the people in the rows behind us, and wait, by the way, this was all nonverbal. Farts were, so they weren't loud. Anyways, we're in the sky. You can't really hear them. And so we would just share looks, which was so funny. We would do knowing looks, thumbs up. He was drawing pictures and shit. I pretended to try to jump out the window. Like, it was a good time. And then we teamed up. Because I'm sure other people smelled it. But the people behind us were so obnoxious and did not care about touching her that he farted once in his hand and he looked at me and he threw it back. So we got the little, the thing to show you what to do if the plane crashes. And every time we farted, we would just waft them over our shoulder. It was one of the most enjoyable. Now, I don't think anybody else on the plane enjoyed it, but me and this dude, we never said a word to each other the entire flight. When we landed, he stood up, we fist bumped, he walked out, never seen him again. But boy, oh boy, it's for me top 5, and I have a lot of fun plane fart stories. Guys, if you don't know, like, I think farts are funny. I think I'll always think farts are funny. I don't think my sense of humor is ever going to change. People are like, aren't you too old to think that's funny? I'm like, no, I don't actually. Farts have been funny. Babies laugh in the crib when they fart. They smile at least. Now that might be relief, but at least they know that it's a good thing. Yeah, I don't think my sense of humor is ever going to change, guys. But yeah, if you, dude, man, what are the odds that guy is listening to this? But if you are, man, reach out. What a good time. Anyways, guys, that is already my 15 minutes. I think, I'm gonna get an email going here. Finding me with Josh Wolf, spelled out with, finding me with Josh Wolf at gmail.com. And send in whatever you want to send in. Questions, ideas, thoughts, things you'd like to hear me talk about. I know I didn't get into that thing that I talked about yesterday about a different way to approach my conversations with Beth that I think is going to change my marriage. There's so many things that I want to talk about. But then the day happens and I'm like, oh, this. And then I'm like, oh shit, that's already 15 minutes. So I'm really going to try to be concise. Maybe what I'll do is I'll theme out weeks. That's interesting. But if you have any thoughts, ideas, suggestions, comments, feel free to send them into the email. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you got. And that's it, guys. I will talk to you on Monday. Have a great weekend. I'm going to give you my Zach Brown Band review. Although I already know the show is going to be fucking amazing because I've seen those guys a bunch of times and they're fucking amazing every time. But have a great weekend. Be good to yourselves. Be good to other people, man. Show some empathy and some kindness. And you know what? Reach out to somebody who you haven't talked to in a while. They're going to be happy to hear from you. All right, everybody. I love you. I'm Josh. This is Finding Me. Later.